What up, what up, what up? It's your favorite podcast with your favorite podcast host. Talking your favorite podcast message. Talking the favorite podcast stuff. What's happening? It's Freewenow. It's Freewenow. Freewenow. It's Freewenow.
Till it is. 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 It is. It is. Backwards.
What up, what up? We back. It's Freewenow.
Till it is backwards.
Yes, sir, ski. Hey, listen, today we back.
Back.
Going back to the Bible. Hey, listen, we back. All right, today we're going to be talking about Galatians 5, right? And, you know, this is a great topic, all right? Bro, Keith picked it, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to get into it, right? You got a background or you want me to give him the background?
I got
you
the
got a
overview,
background?
right? I got
all right,
a
go ahead,
little
give it to
overview,
him. Let him know what's going on.
So Galatians 5, right? It teaches that Christ sets believers free, as they shouldn't return to trying to earn righteousness through the law. Instead, they should live by spirit, avoiding the works of the flesh and showing the fruit of the spirit. Now, when we talk about the law is the Bible, all right? The spirit is inside of you, right? You know what I'm saying? You take the Holy Spirit, talks to your spirit, they conversate, you know what I'm saying? And they talk to God.
For
That's
sure.
how we get it down. But when we talk about the law, we mean the Bible.
For sure. Yes, exactly what he said, right? And just so y'all know, again, we talked about Romans, and who wrote that? Paul, right?
Paul.
So Galatians, Paul wrote Galatians as well, okay? And specifically, he's talking to the Gentile believers, right? And like he said, they are now being confused by these religious leaders that are telling them, hey, you need to believe in Jesus and you have to believe in the law, right? Otherwise, you can't get to God, okay? So Paul is like, not quite. I'm gonna let you finish, but you feel me? So yeah, kick us off. So yeah, so again, Gentile believers that's in Galatia, right? And Paul is writing his letter to them.
Okay, so the way we do this, right, we take a couple verses out of that chapter and we kind of break down the ones that hit us the most, right? So I'm gonna start with verses 16 and 17. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, right? So the reason that kind of hit home for me is sometimes we don't realize doing the right thing is an everyday battle.
Okay.
It's something that you have to wake up and choose to do every single day. There's no subscription to doing the right thing.
Right.
It's not like you pay $29.99 and you're going to always do the right thing on this subscription, right? It is a constant choice, right? And I recently seen somebody say a quote that say, the way that we live our days is the way that we'll live our life. The way that we live our days is the way that we'll live our life. So I have to get up every day and battle against my flesh, right? My flesh is something that constantly wants to go against the spirit.
Right.
It is something that constantly wants to do the wrong thing, right? It's like having a bad little brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the right area and they whisper in your ear, hey, brother. Hey, brother. You know what I'm saying? I know we're not supposed to steal that, but steal it.
Right.
I know we're not supposed to touch that, but touch it. You know what I'm saying?
I know
you're not supposed to say that, but say it. Right. So
right.
it is a constant battle. And I think sometimes we forget that we have to wake up and choose God every single day, that we have to study the Bible, that we have to interpret it, that we have to learn from the teachings that he is giving us. Like there are so many things that I've read in the Bible and took it one way, and then I get another insight and I'm like, that's what it actually means.
Right.
So I just want y'all to understand that when it comes to God, when it comes to studying the Bible, when it comes to going against your flesh, it is an everyday battle and it never stops. There will never be a time where your flesh be like, I got it, until you die.
Yeah. No, facts. I mean, and to his point, and that's why Paul is preaching to them, don't follow the law. Because like he said, your flesh is going to lead you astray. There's no way on your own you're going to be able to do all the things that he just said. No, I'm going to abstain from them. I'm not going to do them. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to live in this environment of chaos and it's not going to bother me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a quote, right, that I like, and I don't know who said it. It was like, don't hang around people that smoke cigarettes and not expect to get cancer from secondhand smoke. Like, you're going to get cancer just from secondhand smoke. You don't even have to smoke the cigarette. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you in the car and you got a gun in the car, right? And you're going to jail off the rip.
By association.
I didn't know. I didn't know the car was stolen. I didn't know they had a gun. This is not my weed in the car. No, all of y'all going to jail. You know what I'm saying? So don't think that you're going to be able to abstain from these laws in an environment We lit. We in the lit environment. You think you not finna be lit? Like, nah, that's what comes with it. So, in knowing that, God knowing that's like, look, yo, like, I made y'all. There's no way you're gonna be able to follow all of these laws. So don't try to. So that leads into my one of my verses that I really liked, right? And I'm really starting to rock with Paul. You know what I'm saying? Because his communication is very like sarcastic. You know what I'm saying? It's very like, not funny, haha, funny, weird, right? So it was like in Galatians 5:7. He says, "You ran well. Who hindered you from obeying the truth? Point them out. Who did it? You got legs with this, huh? You running well right now, huh? You think you got motion, huh?" It says in verse 8, "This persuasion does not come from him who calls you," which would be God, right? Further on, he says, "For let's see. Yep. So there, verse 12, he says, no, verse 11. And I, brethren, if I still preach circumcision, why do I still suffer persecution? Then the offense of the cross has ceased. I wish I could wish that those who trouble you would even cut themselves off." So what he's saying right there is, in this time period, like we mentioned earlier, these Gentile believers, right, who are not in the family, essentially they kind of like some, strays that's like loving God low key, right? And they like the Jews at the time are like, yo, like y'all need to be circumcised. Like you can't come into the house of God, you can't believe in God, you're not finna be saved if you're not circumcised. And Paul is like, since y'all preaching circumcision so much, if I was to cut a little skin off, right? Sorry, pardon me, but there's a lot worse things on TV, right? If you cutting a little skin off, right, makes you holy, why don't you just keep cutting to just become more holier? Almost so, why don't you just cut everything off? And that's in the Bible. Literally, read it. Verse 12, I could wish those who trouble you with this circumcision mess, y'all might as well just cut it all off. If making you holy is a line with cutting, just cut it all off. And when he say cut it off, circumcision, you know what he means. Okay?
Gots to go.
So if you think circumcision is what makes you holy, you should just not cut a little bit. You should cut a lot, so it can make you the most holiest as possible. And I know that's not right English, but that's how crazy it sounds. You feel me? So I think that was interesting for him to be that sarcastic and be like, okay, if circumcision is the way, all right, just cut it all off then. If that's the way, if we're going to just cut till we can't cut no more, just cut it all off. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very interesting for him to be that sarcastic and be like, oh, you think you know something, huh? Right? It's almost like, I like to attribute it to now, right? They got the topic YNs, right? And so I feel like in this, we'll go parallel to today, right? The YNs are like the Gentiles. They love God, but they not maybe practicing all the traditions and customs. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? People may look at us and some old guy, some old head may look at us like, they talking about the Bible like that? They dress like that? They're not following the church's traditions and customs, right? So low key, bro, like we could be a Gentile. Mm-hmm. Right? In the sense of we're not following, or we don't seem to be following, right, the church traditions and customs, right? And these old heads or these church people that have been in there for 30 years is like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't come into church wearing a hat. Guys should be wearing suits and ties. And you shouldn't wear regular clothes coming to church, right? And so the Gentiles is like, we confused. We like, okay, like God don't love me, or like I can't do this, or like, but in reality, they're more wrong than the Gentile. You're more wrong, old head, than a YN, because they just got faith. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We just believe. God down there somewhere, we're going to throw it up there.
We're going to throw it up because he down there somewhere.
He down there somewhere.
Prime Calvin Johnson.
You know what I'm saying? So that was super interesting to see that, like, okay, circumcision, these customs, these traditions, these laws, that's not Jesus. And, we'll say this for another time, but a lot of times religion, and what Paul is saying is like religion, God has freed you. Jesus, his life freed you from having to practice all those customs. So essentially, in a way, Paul is preaching against religion. That's why Keith mentioned in the other podcast, the Bible is not about religion, because religion will have you practicing these traditions, practicing these customs, practicing all of these things that we quote unquote say religion, or say we all believe in Jesus, but you Baptist, Methodist, you know, Pentecostal, you Protestant, you all these different subsections, and it's like you ran well.
But you tripped up. And one thing I do like that he touched on is the faith piece, right? A lot of people are like, okay, you know, faith without works is dead. Like, I get that, right? Having faith doesn't mean that you get to go over here and do whatever you want, right? That doesn't mean, hey, I believe in God, which means I can go and, you know, for lack of a better word, show my butt anytime I feel like it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I got to follow a certain standard, right? But what Paul is getting to is that people had got so caught up into the law, following the Bible, that they understood that they could not be saved by the Bible. As they break the Bible down, it's like a mirror. The Bible shows you consistently how you fall short of what God's standard is. If you were to say, hey, if I follow the Bible, I will get into heaven, I will be saved, that means you could never mess up in your entire life.
Facts.
That means you would have to follow every single law step by step and never stumble. If the Bible was what saved you, it is what that made you righteous, it's what made you holy, you would have to follow every single law in the book. And you know what I'm saying? I'm attributing to nowadays, right? And y'all don't think that any sin is even worse than any other, right?
Right.
Think of the law today. You're not supposed to go over the speed limit, but we do it.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal, but we do it. Same thing with the Bible. You ain't supposed to lie, but we do it. You know what I'm saying? So if you lied at all in your life, you already don't even meet the standards of following the law.
Meaning I'm on my way and you're not on your way.
You're not on your way.
I'm gonna call you back, you don't call him back.
You know what I'm saying? You already didn't meet the standards of the Bible, which is why you rely on faith, having trust that God is going to do what he promised you. You know what I'm saying? God gives grace freely. Grace is given freely. He forgives us even when we do the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? Our works won't save us. Us following along with the laws of the Bible isn't going to save us. It is God's grace because we have faith that he will save us.
Nah,
all
facts.
Right? I just wanted to break that part down for y'all, right? But now I'm going to go into my second verses, 22, 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. Let me say that one more time. Because, you know what I'm saying, I just broke down how you can't follow the law all the time.
Right.
But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law, right? So fruit of the Spirit is evidence that the Spirit lives in you, right? So it is a showing that you have the Spirit. Sometimes that's just that thought in our head that we shouldn't do something that we know is wrong. Right. That is the Spirit talking to us. We always like to say, something told me to do this, something told me not to do this, something told me to leave that place. That is God talking to you, right? But love, the highest virtue, is the way they explain love. Everything we do in life should be with love. When we talk about servicing other people, it should be with love. When we talk about our friends, it should be love. When it comes to strangers, it should be love. And we should do this with a joyous mindset. We should be happy to serve other people.
Right.
We should be happy to talk about God with other people. We should be happy to be in the areas of life that we are in. Not saying that there are times where, you know what I'm saying, you can't be sad, that you can't have emotions, but you have to understand just even having the fact that you're in the place that you are is because God allowed you to be there, right?
Right.
And one of the biggest things that stood out to me is long suffering. Hold up. But the fruit of the Spirit is love and long suffering. So you gotta say, I gotta suffer all the time? That's what you mean? No, it means patience. Long suffering is attributed to patience.
Yeah.
I want to harp on this one because I am a violator of this. Sometimes I have a lack of patience. Sometimes we get put through things in life, or we put ourselves in situations through life, and we don't allow the lesson to work on us.
Right.
We try to outrun the lesson. We try to outrun the growth. We try to outrun the steps. We try to find a loop around to get to the finished product, but we don't understand that the process, the steps that we're going to, the day in, the day out, is the thing that is making us great. It is the thing that is reinvigorating us. It is the thing that is making us righteous. It is the small steps that you take every single day to get out of whatever situation you are in. Sometimes you got a bad day. Sometimes I don't want to go to the gym and I go. Sometimes I don't want to call my friends and I call my friends. Sometimes I don't want to talk about certain things and I talk about certain things, right? It is the different steps that I take to make myself every single day better, right? That is long suffering. That is having patience in the process, because they always say the process is what makes everything great. You know what I'm saying? That's how we got great people in any industry. It is the process, the things that people don't see. It is the constant waking up early. It is the constant, you know, I guess, dissection of what you need to get to a certain point. That is what long suffering means. Not just mean you have to just deal with getting punched in the face all day, but it is having patience through trials and tribulations, right? And another one is temperance, self-control. A lot of times we lose that. We lose sight of self-control. And a lot of times we like to blame other people for the lack of our self-control. Well, my friend's doing it, so that's why I did it. You know what I'm saying? It's lit out here, so that's why I did it. I got drunk, so that's why I did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was high, that's why I did it. Like, it's every excuse to take away from the need for self-control. God harps on self-control, right? That is how you fight against the flesh, having self-control. Reading his word, learning the different lessons he's trying to teach you will get you to better self-control.
No, facts. The fruit of the spirit. The fruit of the spirit, right? I can't remember the verse right now, but y'all can look it up. Essentially, in the Bible, it also mentions that you can judge a tree by its fruit, right? So the fruit is all those things that he just named in verse 21 and verse 22, right? That's what spirit looks like, right? But, you know, verse 16 kind of tells you how to get to that fruit, right? What's the tree, right? And in verse 16, it says, walk in the spirit and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the spirit and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish. Meaning the spirit overcomes the flesh, right? So again, just harping on that fact of the law, right? And trying to be a perfect person, right? A lot of times, you know, people jokingly say, hey, I'm doing this for you. Hey, this gonna be my key to heaven. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know what I'm saying? God, I hope you see me giving this money to the homeless. I'm trying to get into heaven, right? In reality, I know these are colloquial terms and colloquial phrases that we're saying, but in reality, if you say something all the time, you may end up believing it, right? So the spirit, right, walking in the spirit, these things go against your efforts. They go against your flesh, right? Because sometimes your flesh may be good today and may be bad tomorrow, right? So it closes out in 18, verse 18, but if you are led by the spirit, you are not under the law. So don't think that, oh, God has freed me from the law. I don't have to be a perfect person. Let me go wild out. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because I am not under the law or I don't have to follow every rule, that doesn't absolve you from following and doing the right thing and having a moral code. It's saying that, yeah, you don't have to follow every law, right? But you do have to be led by the spirit, right? And the spirit is going to guide you and not only help you do right from wrong, but it's also going to help you overcome what your flesh may be hard to overcome on your own. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was super dope. And then leading to what he said about the fruit of the spirit, right? It's interesting that I say this all the time. The more things change,
the more they stay the same.
The more they stay the same, right? And it's so interesting in that I'm going to go ahead and say it, right? I'm not a believer in religion. I'm a believer in kingdom. And the Bible is about a kingdom, right? So if somebody was asking me today, do I practice religion? Now that I'm actually reading the Bible, I'm like, no, I don't. I don't practice just traditions and customs. I don't just do things up under the law. You feel me? I believe in Jesus through faith. You feel me? Like, my efforts aren't good enough. Otherwise, I'm disrespecting Jesus. I'm disrespecting what he did for me on the cross if I'm saying I can do something that's going to change my trajectory of getting to heaven or not. That's disrespectful. That's like you getting up every day. Your parents getting up every day, going to work, feeding you, having to give you a roof over your head, protecting you from the rain, doing all this stuff, putting clothes on your back, giving you stuff for Christmas, and you be like, I'm so glad I did all of this by myself.
I'm so glad I got it out the mud.
I got it out the mud. You put my disciple hoodie on, man. You saying my efforts or let me get this money to the homeless is just as disrespectful as your parents putting you through private school and then you said I got it out the mud. He went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. What do you say? Clarence's parents had a real good marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like, you went to private school. You didn't get it out the mud. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jesus did this for you. Your efforts don't matter. You're not that cold. You're not that smooth. I did it. I'm self-made. I got it out the mud. 1 Pac, 2 Pac, 3 Pac, 4. He's Pac, no Pac.
Air Park.
313. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's how disrespectful it sounds. You think Jesus did all of that on the cross, nail in his hands, getting beat down. They said he was so beat down that they couldn't even tell if he was a male or a female. And he was naked. You think he went through all of that for him to be like, yeah, I'm gonna tip this waiter because this is gonna get me into heaven? You know how disrespectful that is? I went through all of that. I'm getting up at 3 a.m. working 2 jobs to put you through private school, and you said you got it out the mud, and now you're a rapper. What? You know what I'm saying? That's crazy to think about. You feel me? That was a tangent. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he got to get his stuff off. But don't take our word for it. Read it yourself, right?
Read it yourself.
Read it yourself. That is the only way that you're going to truly learn, is to read your Bible yourself. You could come over here and be like,
Right.
I think y'all interpreted it the wrong way. And if you can prove me wrong, you know what I'm saying? I'm fine with that.
Nah, facts.
Like Hassan said the last episode, I'd rather get right than just stay wrong.
Facts.
You know what I mean? But these are things that we're reading in the Bible and the way we're interpreting. And honestly, it makes sense, right? God harps on faith. He doesn't harp on your work.
Facts.
Now, as he said, faith, grace is not an excuse to do whatever you want. But don't think that you can work your way into heaven. Don't think
Facts.
you can clock in 9 to 5 and be a good person and work your way into heaven. That's not it.
You didn't get it out the mud, bro.
He didn't get it out the mud.
You being a Christian and saying, or whatever you practice, right? Saying whatever you do is gonna get you to heaven. It's like saying you got it out the mud and your parents is billionaires. I'm self-made. I'm self-made.
Got it out the mud.
I got it out the mud. Like, okay, so with that, right? I'm realizing as I'm actually reading the Bible, I'm not just going to somebody's sermon and having them regurgitate to me what they thought the Bible was. I'm actually reading it. Another aspect, say what you want to say. Islam, right? The original book that they created the Quran after was the Bible. But that's a whole different topic, right? So the Gentiles, right? That's your modern day YNs, okay? Love our YNs, man. Love on the Gentiles. Circumcision ain't gonna do it. Because if you can cut your way to heaven, you might as well cut it all off. Like Paul said, on me.
Yeah, I ain't cutting nothing off.
What else you got? What else you got for us?
Honestly, man, that was a lot. That was a lot of breakdown. Galatians 5, you know what I'm saying? But don't get it wrong. A lot of the things we pulled from built on Galatians 5. So we took some of the stuff that we learned from Romans. We took some of the stuff that we learned from Genesis, because the Bible stacks on top of each other. If you don't know one story, you're not going to know another story, right? So you have to read it in its totality. And I'm still working my way through the Bible. I ain't read every book in there, but I've read a lot of same books a lot. So, you know, take your time, work through the Bible, read it, digest it, you know what I'm saying, and come up with your interpretation. The Bible is actually very clear, so I'm not even going to say come up with your interpretation. It's pretty clear.
Pretty clear. He went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. Clarence's parents had a real good marriage. It's Freewenow.
Till it is backwards.